So what is a vertical shot? Let's look at the format. It's a story designed for phone viewing in a portrait format, usually 9:16, with episodes or scenes built for fast mobile consumption. So vertical shot, or it's all about story built for the mobile phone, okay? Because the mobile phone or smartphone has become the center of people's lives, okay? And the designing stories for mobile phones has actually become what? Lucrative, okay? Because of the abundance of what? The audience. So where they live, these sort of stories in this format, where can you find them? You find them on TikTok, series feature for paid collections. You can find them on Instagram Reels, up to 3 minutes as of 2025. You can find them on YouTube Shorts, vertical uploads, monetization. You can equally be monetized. And then you have dedicated micro drama apps. Example, Drama Box, Reel Shot, and others. A real entertainment business. Yes, it's actually real because in terms of revenue, the money is already rolling in and you don't want to miss it. In China, China's micro drama industry is worth about $5 billion. That's the annual market value. And it's already spreading to the US. And then you have real short downloads, like 30 million plus. It outranked Netflix in the US for real shorts. And Netflix and even App Store downloads at one point. Okay, it has like 30 million plus downloads, more than Netflix and App Store. So this data tells us that something is actually happening. And in terms of monthly revenue, it has about $10 million. For real shorts, the average monthly revenue for a typical 10 to 90 episode show, which costs $300K to produce. Okay, we'll still get to the production cost later on, where you discover that, of course, in terms of budget, the vertical shots dominate. For US revenues in 2025, consulting estimates that for US microdrama revenues in 2025, it was about $1.3 billion. Okay, so based on this data, it's obvious that these vertical shots are worth exploring. So these are the 3 reasons to learn this format now. Okay, audience behavior already fits. Like they say, the customer is what? King. So once you find the customer response pattern, you try to fit your product, to suit that word pattern. So the audience are already responding. People naturally watch on phones, in short bus, in transit, in queues, before bed, okay? And experts tie microdrama success directly to the convenience of watching anywhere and anytime, okay? Another reason why you need to learn this format is lower cost barrier. Okay, budget range from roughly $28,000 to $280,000 for many micro dramas, with production timelines far shorter than traditional TV. Okay, this is from the Reuters report. Now, when you compare the budget to what it takes to make a feature film, then you understand why it is quite low, okay, in terms of cost. And even in Nigeria, I guess it's even lower, okay, because of the requirements. It has a low requirement bar. Now, strong storytellers win fast. That's another reason why you need to learn this format. If you're a strong storyteller, this is the format for you. Okay, you can win fast in this format. You don't need to wait for cinema releases or TV slot. Okay, you build your audience, test concepts, and monetize much earlier. You can use the different platforms, TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram monetization systems. Okay, let's look at this vertical format and how it can help you build what skills. Okay, it can help you build filmmaking what skills. You can build skills in filmmaking because it involves filmmaking, setting up your camera, understanding cinematography and all that, and also screenwriting, where you need to write your script for your story. And then social native storytelling, you equally understand people's behavior or the market, how the market behaves. And then mobile distribution, how do you market on the online? Okay, by engaging in vertical storytelling, vertical formats, you will equally be forced to learn mobile or distribution. And then you learn low budget what production, how to make um, uh, movies with what low budget. And then you have creator monetization. Now you don't need to when it comes to even making your money, you can actually monetize your product without needing to clear from maybe a cinema house or maybe a studio. Okay, of skills that you will develop by exploring this vertical short format. Let's compare this vertical short format to traditional format. Um, we can say it's a totally different what grammar. Vertical storytelling is not just shoot the same film but turn the camera upright. No, that's not what it means. It changes the grammar entirely. Okay, so let's look at vertical frame. Where does it work best? Okay, it works best for faces and emotional expressions or intimacy. Okay, when you need to catch expressions on the face. It also works best when you have one or two people stacked in frame. Okay, you need to capture just one or two people in a frame. It also works best when you need to capture body movement up and down. Also, when you need to capture phone screens and text reveals. Okay, and then reveals from top to what? Bottom. And if you need to capture frames in confined what? Spaces. So these are the conditions where vertical frame work best. Okay. Now, where does vertical frame struggle? It struggles with wide lateral staging. Okay, if you need to go wide, it will struggle. Okay, because you need to capture more. It also struggles with large ensemble blocking. If you need to capture a large area, okay, it struggles. Also, complex horizontal geography. If the geography stretches horizontally, you can't capture it properly with vertical frame. Also, when you have an epic landscape composition, okay, vertical frame struggles under these circumstances. What vertical writing must lean into? Okay, these are things that make your writing, if you want to write script for a vertical short, develop a strong protagonist, aggressive pacing, and then episode end hooks. These are important elements that you need to inculcate when you're writing for vertical shots. So your protagonist needs to be what? Strong. The audience roots for or against immediately. Okay, so your protagonist has to you have to reveal your protagonist in such a way that the audience can root for him or against him, in a very short time. And then you need aggressive pacing, because remember, most of these verticals, the story happens within a short duration. So you need simple geography, high emotional stakes, and fast reversals. No slow build. There's no room for slow build up. Okay? And then you need an episode end hooks. Remember, you want your audience to return to watch more um, of your production. Okay, so you need probably hooks, like something like a cliffhanger at the end, so that the audience can have their appetite whet for another session. So let's look at vertical shots versus other formats. We want to compare vertical shots to other formats. We compare them in terms of feature, screen format, story length, structure, pace, emotional intensity, narrative continuity. Vertical shots, when you compare them to traditional film and social media skits, in terms of the screen format, it's usually vertical, 9 by 16. Traditional films are horizontal, 16 by 9. Okay, that's the width is more than the length. The social media skits, they're usually vertical. In terms of story length, you have episodic micro stories for vertical shots. For traditional films, 90 to 120 minutes is the duration. That's the story length. For social media skits, you have standalone jokes. In terms of structure, vertical shots are driven by cliffhangers, okay, that leave you wanting more. And then for a traditional film, there's usually a closure in terms of the 3-act structure, a beginning, a middle, and an end. And then for social media skits, they usually end with a punchline. That punchline driven. In terms of pace, vertical shots are extremely fast. Traditional films are moderate, and social media skits are equally fast. Emotional intensity is very high for vertical shots. For traditional films, it's balanced, it goes up and down. And then for social media skits, it's often comedic. Narrative continuity. For vertical shots, you have serial episodes. For traditional film, single long story. And for social media skits, they don't, there's usually none. Okay? So that's a comparison amongst these three formats. Now, what's the biggest difference between a traditional film and a vertical shot? The biggest difference is in the question they ask. The traditional film asks, what happens next in the story? Okay, that's the question you ask in a traditional film. But in a vertical shot, the question is, how do we keep the viewer from scrolling away? Because in a traditional film, the assumption is that, okay, you're probably watching in a cinema, you're not going anywhere. Okay, so you have to keep the audience attention, so, till the end of the movie. But for a vertical shot, the audience has the latitude to scroll to another, maybe another platform, okay, or maybe even another movie, okay. So the question is, how do we keep the viewer from what? Scrolling away. You want their fingers to stay away from the phone, okay? So that's the question you're asking. So every moment in your vertical shot should answer that question, okay? Or should ask that question. Are they going to scroll away here? No. That should be the right answer. So the writing style must be much tighter. Every scene must justify its existence, not just narratively, but in terms of viewer what? Retention. Okay, let's look at the core writing principle. Every scene must ask what? A question. Okay, it's a writing principle which, of course, we've reiterated over and over what? Again. All right. So in vertical shots, the viewer is always subconsciously asking a question. If your scene does not create one tension, if your scene doesn't create a question, the tension drops what? Immediately, because it's about curiosity. You want to keep him curious till the end so he doesn't scroll away. So these are the questions. What is happening? Okay, why is this happening? What will they do next? Who is lying? What is the cost? What secret is about to what? Explode? These are questions that you try to evoke in the minds of your what? Audience. Okay, so that they don't do what? They don't scroll away. They stay on your platform and continue watching. So the writing engine is not beautiful dialogue. Okay, it's not beautiful dialogue. It is not theater. Okay, they're not really glued to one place like in a theater. They just sit down in one place and they're watching. And you have time to bring in beautiful dialogue. No, the writing engine is not beautiful dialogue. It is question, complication, reversal, new question. No room for the audience to break away from your spell to break. Okay, so you ask a question, you complicate things, you could use reversals, and then new questions. Okay, that is the fuel of what? Bingeable vertical drama. You just want them to keep what? Watching. Okay, and for them to come back over and over again, you need to keep the question, complicate it, use reversals, or even bring in what? A new question. Okay, so that their train of thought is continually on your story. Okay, let's look at the cliffhanger rule. Every 2 minutes. Okay, writing with a hard hook every 2 minutes is a strong discipline. So you make sure that every 2 minutes there's a strong hook. So you have the micro hook, that's the one you start with, and then the escalation. Okay, you escalate things, and then a reveal. Okay, and then the audience realize, oh, so this was what we thought was happening, and then you reveal something else, and then a cliffhanger. Okay, to ensure they return next time, to want to know how things would end. So what counts as a cliffhanger? Okay, a cliffhanger is not merely something happened. It is a moment that makes the audience feel they must keep watching. Okay, it's a moment that makes the audience feel they must keep watching. Something the people that produce serial movies understand very well, and that's why you want to keep watching till to know what will happen in the next episode. All right, so cliffhanger could come in form of a reveal. She's not your sister. The baby is alive. Okay, so it's an information that throws off everything. Okay, it could be an interruption. A proposal is about to happen, then the police enter. Okay, a confession is cut off by what? A knock. Someone wants to confess something important, and suddenly there's a knock on the door. So that's an interruption, and it's a cliffhanger because of course, you want to hear that confession and you stick around to hear it. Identity shock. Okay. At the end of, okay, maybe you realize that the maid is the real one, the real boss. Okay. But initially you thought she was the maid, only to realize that she is what? The owner of the what? Of the company or the house. Okay. And then the poor man is what? The CEO. Or maybe someone you thought was a woman was actually what? A man. That's identity what? Shock. Another one is betrayal. Okay. A best friend changes sides. A lover was working with what? The enemy. Okay. This sort of things, situation, keep your audience wanting to know how things will pan out. Okay. So it's an example of what? Of a cliffhanger. Another one is moral trap. Save the child or expose what? The killer. Okay. So you sign the deal or lose your mother's what? Surgery. So when you have such a dilemma, okay, it's people can feel the character's pain, and as a result, they out of empathy, they want to know how this character will survive this moral trap. Another one is evidence drop. Okay, DNA result arrives. CCTV clip begins to what? Play. Okay, so probably there's been a crime or something, and then there's an evidence that drops. You want to know, how things will unfold. So these are examples of cliffhangers that you can use to keep your audience attention and to keep them from not scrolling away. So let's look at a practical 2-minute beat sheet. Okay, you have your hook. So you open with action. Maybe the hook is like maybe 15 seconds. Okay, first 15 seconds. You open with action, shock, conflict, or impossible situation. Okay. So that's the first 15 seconds. Okay. So then you clarify your conflict. The conflict has to be clear. The conflict has to be clear. Okay, who wants what? Who is blocking it? What is at risk right now? These are questions that lead to what, or that help you delineate or clarify your conflict. Okay, so that's within the next 15 to 45 seconds. Then 45 seconds to like a minute, 15 seconds, you throw in your escalation. You make things worse, stronger, or more personal. Okay, not just problem continues. The problem doesn't just continue. You have to heighten the problem. Okay. Now, between the next 1 to 15 minutes and 1 to 40, 1 minute 15 seconds to 1 minute 40 seconds, that's where you can put in a reversal. Okay, the secret flips, or the scene flips. Okay, things turn around in an unexpected way. Okay, and then you bring in your cliffhanger, 1 to 40 seconds, between 1 minute 40 seconds to 2 minutes. You introduce your cliffhanger. Okay, so this is like a practical 2-minute beat sheet. So if you're designing a full vertical short series, okay, this is a strong vertical short series. It has 4 layers of hook working simultaneously. It's about how you can layer your hook, okay, if you have a series. So you have an overarching hook. That's the season hook. All right. Now you introduce that, and then you have that is what will run all through the season. Maybe in the first episode, someone commits a crime, Okay, and throughout the season, it's all about whether the person will be what, caught or not. Okay, that's like a season what, hook. And then you have your episode hook. So each episode will come with what, a compelling and unresolved what, beat. So you introduce another hook for each what, episode. All right, that will last through the what, the episode. Okay, of course the overarching hook will not be resolved in that episode. It will keep running. Okay, so maybe in the next one, the 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 thief is almost caught. Okay, but of course he won't be caught. So we still want to know, okay, will the thief be caught? So we need to move to the next what, episode. Okay, so now you have the scene hook. For every scene, there's equally what, a hook. Okay, it could be a mini question. Okay, that is answered within what, a scene. And also you have the opening hook. Okay, so this is the first 1 to 5 seconds. It must stop what, the scroll. That's your opening what, hook for the entire what, series. Okay, between the first 1 to 5 seconds, it must stop what, the scroll, because that's what you want to use to pull them in to want to watch the entire season. So let's look at genres that naturally work in vertical shots. Okay, there are genres that work best for that are best suited for vertical what, shots. You have revenge melodrama. Okay, such melodrama where you have like a wrong protagonist that fights back against powerful what, enemies. You want to know whether usually when people are wronged, okay, we empathize with them. So, and then the audience, once they empathize with your protagonist, would want to know how the rest of the events played out. Another one is secret identity. Okay, someone's identity is what, hidden. All right, something like maybe hidden wealth, hidden marriage, and then the truth explodes. So in such cases, we want to know how the truth will what, whether the truth will be found out or not. So that's an example of a genre that works for vertical what, shots. And then romance and betrayal. Okay, maybe forbidden romance, cheating, and all that, miracle reversals, and so on. Romance is always a good selling point, and for vertical shots, romance betrayals equally what, work. Workplace power games. These are relatable. These are relatable issues that most audiences would identify with: family inheritance, wars, social humiliation, and all that. So these are genres that naturally work in vertical shots: revenge melodrama, secret identity, romance betrayal, workplace power games. Now let's look at how to write vertical shots. Step 1, high concept what, premise. You need a one-line premise with immediate emotional what, tension. A good vertical shot premise contains a protagonist, a visible problem, an ironic twist, emotional stakes, and series potential. So let's look at an example. A cleaner discovers she's the legal owner of the mansion she works in. Okay, that's an interesting premise. Okay, a poor bike rider unknowingly delivers food to the father who abandoned him. All right, on her wedding day, a woman discovers the groom is marrying her to access her dying mother's land title. Okay, So already contains a visible problem, okay, an ironic twist. You can see the emotional stakes are running high already in this premise, or the premises that we just considered. And there's equally room for what, to have what, series, different episodes, okay. So a vertical shot, if you want to write vertical shots, you need high concept premise that has series what, potential. Let's look at the step 2. Build around status what, shifts. Build around what, status shifts. Vertical shots thrive on power reversal. Ask in every scene. At the start of the scene, who has power? Establish the dominant character clearly so the audience understands the hierarchy. At the end of the scene, who has power now? If no power shift happens, the scene may feel flat. Every scene should move the power needle. Okay, so every scene should move what, the power needle. So if no power shift happens, the scene may feel what, flat. Okay, because when there's a power shift, there's equally a shift in what, in emotions, and that's what you want to achieve. Okay, steps 3 to 4, scene entry and what, exposition. Now you enter the scene late and leave what, early. There's no room for warm up. Okay, friends come around and they're, maybe two friends are meeting and then they start exchanging pleasantries. There's no time for that. Start where the tension already what, exists. End before the answer fully what, lands. Okay, that's what it means to enter late and leave what, early. So you start in the middle of things where the tension already exists, and then end before the answer fully what, lands. So the audience want to know what would happen what next. Okay. Also use compressed what, exposition. Never explain the whole backstory at once. Reveal through conflict, accusation, objects, interrupted dialogue, or social what, humiliation. So you don't just sit in one scene and start telling the entire story, the entire backstory. Okay, how this person died, how this one happened, how that one happened. Okay, you break the backstory into bits and pieces, and then sprinkle it here and there into the story. Okay, you can utilize circumstances like conflict, accusation. Where there's an emotional what, tension. Okay, bad exposition. This is an example of a bad exposition. As you know, since father died 10 years ago, if the person already knows, right? Why are you telling them? Okay, you don't repeat what the audience already knows. All right, so that's an example of what? Of a bad exposition. This is a better exposition. You forged that signature the week he died. Okay, now this is like an accusation. Okay, and then the other person can now answer, but that, you're talking about what happened 10 years ago. Now we already know that dad died 10 years ago without you trying to tell us directly. So that's a better way to expose a backward story. So you can use accusation, like in this case. Dialogue and scene what, endings. That's steps 5 to what, 7. Write emotional tones, not what, speeches. Long speeches die in vertical format. Write accusation, denial, counteract, or counterattack, threat, reveal, interruption. Okay, you don't need long speeches in what, in vertical what, format. Okay, so you use accusation, denial, counterattack, threat, reveal, interruption, not long word speeches. Okay, that's for a presentation, not for a vertical word shot. And then keep dialogue playable. Lines should be what? Short. active and actor what friendly. Yes, because if you have a long line, the possibility of the actor missing his lines will be what? High. Okay, so keep it actor friendly. Instead of, I think perhaps you are misunderstanding the nature of our relationship. Use, you were never my husband, you were my handler. Okay, so that's a kind of what? Accusation. Okay, now you end scenes on unstable what? Energy. A scene should not end when calm is restored. It should end when tension mutates, tension changes. Okay, that's when it should what? It should what? End. Not when calm is what? Restored. Like we see in some of our movies, okay, people are fighting and the next scene, everybody, they now settle and they are so happy with themselves and the scene ends. That's not a good way to what? To end what? A scene. Okay, so you end when the tension does what? Mutates, it changes. Let's look at a simple episode writing what? Template. If you want to write episodes, okay, so this is a template for it. You start with the episode what? Purpose. What's the purpose of this what? Episode? What changes by the end of this what? Episode? Okay. What is the main conflict here? What is being fought what? Over? And then twist. What flips the apparent situation? And then a cliffhanger. Why must we watch episode what? 2. So let's look at an example. Purpose. This is an example of an episode. And the purpose, the heroine loses job, but discovers hidden connection to company what? Owner. Okay? So what's the conflict here? So the purpose of this episode, okay, is to probably reveal the heroine's connection to the company what? Owner. Okay, she's publicly accused of theft. Okay, that's the conflict that is introduced in this example. Now, what's the twist here? CCTV reveals she was what? Framed. Okay, and then the cliffhanger. The owner recognizes her necklace from a missing child case. Okay, so this is an example of what? Of the template at work for what? An episode. Designing a full vertical short series. Okay, a typical series structure may include 20 to 50 what? Episodes. So the arc below, it shows us standard 10 episode what? For such a series. Okay, so that's the spine for the first what? 10 episodes. So episode 1, the purpose is public what? Humiliation. That's what you want to your episode 1 to be about. Then episodes 2 to 3, secret discovery. Okay, that's new what? Ally. Okay, episodes 4 to 6, betrayal, romance, evidence destroyed. Episode 7 to 8, the villain rises, hero fights back. Episodes 9 to 10, identity reveal, a major what? Cliffhanger. Okay, now you reveal the identity of the protagonist, and it's a major what? Cliffhanger to keep the audience coming back for more. Okay, let's look at how to create a short list. What's a short list? It's a plan that tells the film crew exactly what shots must be what? Recorded. It prevents confusion and saves time during filming. Okay, so a short list includes scene number, shot number, shot type, camera angle, camera movement, description of what? Action. So these are the components of a short list. Let's look at an example short list. Okay, so we look at the scene, the shot type, the movement, and then description. Excuse me. So scene one, the shot, that's the shot one. Shot type is close up, movement static, description bride crying. The same scene one, shot two, medium shot, static, groom speaking. Still on the same scene, shot three, insert, static, ring falling. The same scene, shot four, close up. Is a close up shot, and the movement pushing, bride shocked. Okay, same scene, shot five, wide shot, static, guess what, reacting. Okay, so this is an example of what? Of what? A short list that tells us the scene, the shot type, the movement involved, and a description. Why short lists are important? Why are short lists important? Okay, number one, they save production time. Okay, so they ensure important shots are not forgotten, and guide the director and camera crew efficiently. They equally help editors. So editors understand coverage because before they even open the footage, reducing post-production confusion. Okay, the editors know what should come before what. All right, so it saves them a lot of confusion. It controls costs. Without a short list, shoots become chaotic and expensive. Okay, because once it's not properly ordered and chaos sets in, you lose time, and like you know, in shooting, time is what? Cost. Okay, so let's move on. Let's look at common shot types in vertical shots. Vertical storytelling relies heavily on close emotional framing. These shots create strong drama even with minimal locations. Okay, so you have the close-up. It shows emotions clearly. It's the workhorse of vertical drama. And then you have the medium shots. It shows interaction between characters. You have over the shoulder, used for conversations and confrontations. Insert shot shows objects, phone messages, documents, rings, photos. Reaction shot shows how characters respond emotionally, often more powerful than the action itself. Okay, it's usually more powerful, like the reaction shot, okay, because when you see the expression on the face of the audience, it even helps you understand the magnitude of the event. All right, so let's look at shooting vertical shots well on a low budget. Remember already we've pointed out that relatively vertical shots cost less than traditional filmmaking. So let's look at how you can do it well on a low budget. So the format is low budget friendly, but it still punishes sloppy craft. Adobe emphasizes that even beginner video production needs planning. A short list, audio, lighting, and release planning. For small projects, even 4 or 5 well-chosen shots per scene can be enough. Okay, so you need to be well organized, okay, to take advantage of its low budget friendly nature. So let's look at 10 best practice for low budget quality rules. Okay, so these are 10 best practices that will help you keep your budget low and the quality of your work high. So use the rear camera. Do not default to the selfie camera for narrative work. Okay, use the rear camera at the back of your phone. All right. So now lock your settings. Lock frame rate, white balance, and exposure. Auto mode causes ugly shifts. Blackmagic's app exists precisely for this. So this is a suggestion of an app that will help you lock your what settings. Okay. Shoot 9 to 16 natively. That's 9 by what 16. Do not shoot horizontal and hope to crop later. Compose for vertical frame from what start. So if you're shooting vertical, make sure you keep the dimensions that are meant for vertical shots. So you don't need to rely on cropping. Okay, that's not, it won't give you the best production. Prioritize audio. Cheap looking sound destroys expensive looking images. Use a lav mic, quiet location, and blankets for echo control. Okay, so you have to prioritize your audio. Okay. Now, light faces first. A cheap light placed well beats an expensive camera in bad light. Okay, use window light, soft LED, or white foam board reflector. Okay, so you need to light faces first. 10 rules. We're still on the 10 rules. Okay, you control the background. Vertical framing magnifies clutter. Simplify the background and separate the actor from it. Okay, your background needs to be simplified. Remember, you're shooting vertical, you don't need clutter. All right, use fewer, better shots. Do not overshoot randomly. Plan a shot list first. A shot list will help you overcome this problem. Okay, so you need to draft your shot list so you don't overshoot randomly. Move camera only when motivated. Most low-budget vertical scenes look better with locked medium close-ups and controlled pushings. Okay, so be careful how you move your camera. Protect your highlights. Blown out windows and faces make footage look amateur. Expose carefully. Okay, so record room tone. This helps post-production audio smoothing significantly. Okay, so we're still on that's the rules that will help you make your give your product the quality that is required even at a low budget. So let's look at the low budget kit recommendations. Low budget kit recommendations. Okay, this is the minimal kit. One good smartphone, one tripod, one lav cam mic, one compact LED, one power bank, white foam board or cloth for bounce, dark cloth to block bad light. So these are the contents of a minimal kit. Okay, these are the basic items you should have in your low budget kit. Okay, we have the better starter kit. You have smartphone with manual camera app. You have a tripod and phone clamp. You have 2 wireless lavs. That's your mic. You have 2 compact soft LEDs. And then you have your ND filter solution if outdoors. Small gimbal, backup storage. So this is like a better starter kit. The best low-budget visual strategy. Do not try to imitate a huge action film. Instead, lean into what vertical does well naturally. Remember, like we pointed out, vertical shot is a different grammar from traditional shots. Okay, so don't try to compete with the cinemas. Okay, and these are for you to get the best from your low budget visual, you need a strategy. So this is the visual strategy. Intense close-ups. Use intense close-ups. Emotional confrontation. Okay. Text message reveals. Doors opening. People overhearing secrets. Corridor entrances. Mirror reflections. Object inserts. So these are cheap but highly effective in the vertical frame. So this is a strategy you can adopt to get the best from your low budget vertical shots. Let's look at the best shot plan for a 2-minute episode. You have a 2-minute episode. This is the best shot plan for you. Okay, for a dialogue heavy low budget episode, this 6-shot structure is often enough. You have your opening hook, close up. It has to be close up. That's a close up shot there. Medium single on the protagonist, medium single on the opponent, tight insert, pushing on reveal, cliffhanger, close up. Okay, so this is your shot plan for a 2-minute episode. Okay, for different scenes and items in the shot, you have your shot plan. What are the editing rules for vertical shots? Okay, these are the rules here. You cut faster, but not mindlessly. It's not like you cut without discretion. Okay, so cut faster, but not mindlessly. Now put the best moment first. Okay, you need to put the best moment first. You don't have time to build slowly. Okay, except the opening image itself is intriguing. Now, design for silent viewing. Okay, many users start with the sound off on their phone. Okay, so you design for silent viewing. So you can use captions, make visuals clear. All right. So and let the first seconds tell the story without dialogue alone. Okay. So another thing you can do is to end before the resolution. The cut should make the audience lounge forward. Okay, they should lean forward. They want to know what's going to happen next. So these are the editing rules. You cut faster, but not mindlessly. Put the best moment first. Design for silent viewing and end before the resolution. Let's look at making text readable in editing. Okay, caption and on-screen text rules. We want to make our text readable because if you are putting a block of text, you want the audience to read it. Okay, so this is how you can make it readable. For caption and on-screen text, these are the rules. Keep text large and legible. All right, center safely within the frame. Do not place too low. It may be cut off. Do not cover faces with text. Okay, these are the rules you need to observe to get the best of your text that you want to be readable. Now, why does it matter? Captions serve two audiences: viewers watching silently and viewers who need accessibility support. Okay, both groups are significant on every major platform. All right. Readable captions increase watch time and completion rates, because if your audience is probably deaf, all right, or challenged, a caption might what help them understand, have access to what you're trying to convey. Okay. Where to publish, two parts. Okay, you can publish, you have two parts available to you as a vertical short producer. The part one is social first publishing. Okay, so this is best for discovery, audience building, testing, and marketing. You have platforms available here, including YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, and TikTok. Okay, so that's the first part, where you're trying to get discovered, build your audience. Okay, and then you test the market as well. The part two is a dedicated short drama platform, or dedicated short drama platforms. It is best for specialized monetization and licensing. Okay, examples: Real Shot, Drama Box, Love Shots, My Drama, Gamma Time. Okay, in this case, probably you've built your audience and you want to direct them where they can find your products exclusively. Okay, according to Reuters, Time, and Business Insider, uh, they all describe dedicated short drama platforms as significant players in the micro drama world business. Though they often function more like studios or commissioning ecosystems than open self-serve uploads. Okay, platform deep dive, social first. Okay, let's look at the different platforms. YouTube Shorts. It supports vertical uploads, tracks shorts analytics. Okay, if you want to know how your shorts are performing, you can track track it using the YouTube analytics, and shares revenue for eligible creators through the shorts monetization module. So you can equally monetize your shorts on YouTube. YouTube changed shorts view counting in March 2025. So you need to get updated on their new rules concerning that. But you can monetize your shorts on YouTube. Okay, and then you can measure using the analytics how your shorts are performing. Okay, and they support vertical uploads. Instagram Reels, it is important for reach. Okay, in 2025, Instagram expanded Reels to 3 minutes, especially useful for short episodic storytelling. Okay, and on TikTok, it is central for what discovery. You want to be discovered. TikTok is a good place to go. So TikTok series feature allows eligible creators to offer paid collections up to 80 videos per series, up to 20 minutes per video. The smartest publishing strategy for beginners. Okay, so this is the smartest publishing strategy if you're a beginner. So you publish, you build, and then you monetize. Okay, don't rush to monetize. First of all, publish, build your audience, and then monetize. Okay, so it's advisable to start with free social platforms to test your concepts and build audience. Okay, then package proven content into monetized or licensed formats. Let's look at technical publishing specs. Okay, specifications for technical publishing. Target specs: 9:16 vertical aspect ratio, ideally 1080 by 1920 resolution, progressive scan, upload in the same frame rate you recorded. 1080 pixels is a practical sweet spot. Clean audio export. Okay, so these are your target specs. The specifications you should target. Okay, so why these matter? Why do they matter? Okay, YouTube's official upload documentation supports vertical aspect ratios and gives encoding guidance for bitrate and audio. Google Ads YouTube video specs also recommend 1080 by 1920 for vertical HD creative. Matching your recording frame rate avoids judder and quality loss in export. Okay, so you need to match your recording frame with specifications. Common mistakes in vertical shots. Common mistakes in vertical shots. Writing too slowly. No hook in the first 3 seconds. Like we pointed out, it's a short duration and everything has to happen quickly. Okay? Too much exposition up front. Scenes that do not change status. Bad sound quality. Horizontal blocking forced into vertical frame. No episode end cliffhanger. Shooting everything handheld for no reason. Weak titles and thumbnails. Making one long story instead of many addictive story units. So these are mistakes that you could make if you're doing vertical shots. Okay. Let's look at the strongest practical advice. Not how do I make a tiny movie, but how do I create a chain of irresistible, unresolved moments? Okay, that is the heart of the format. The winning formula is high concept premise, fast emotional conflict, power reversals, repeated hooks, cheap but controlled production. Let's look at a ready-made writing formula. So you can use this for every episode. It's not a law, okay? It's not like it's cast in stone, but it's a proven engine. It's a proven engine. Most of these rules are actually worked out backwards, all right? Based on stories that have worked before, okay? They were distilled from them, all right? So they are proving engine. So the hook image, probably something humiliating, dangerous, romantic, or shocking. Something that can, raise curiosity in the audience. Immediate conflict. Two people want opposite things. Escalation. The cost rises quickly. Reversal. The weaker person gains leverage, or the apparent truth collapses. A cliffhanger, a reveal, interruption, or decision that forces the next click. Let's look at the formula in action. A hook. We see the bride is abandoned at the altar. So bride is abandoned at the altar. A conflict. She discovers the groom married her to access her dying mother's land papers. Escalation. She slaps him publicly in front of all the guests. Reversal. The groom's mother kneels and calls her Madam Chairman. Cliffhanger. Cuts. That is vertical shot logic. Okay? So this is the formula in action. Because you want to know, hey, why was she called Madam Chairman? Okay, by the groom's mother. Okay, key takeaways. Start now. Okay, did you hear that? I said start now, not tomorrow, but now. The market is real. $5 billion in China. Don't change that to Naira, please. Okay, $5 billion in Naira, $1.3 billion projected in the US. This is not a trend. It is an industry. Okay, the barrier is equally low. All you need is a smartphone, a lav mic, and strong writing. They are enough to start. Budget ranges from $28K to $280K for professional micro dramas. Okay, the window is open for now. Early movers will shape the space. The longer you wait, the more crowded the field becomes. Okay? The longer you wait, the more crowded the field does what? Becomes. All right, we've come to the end of today's class. Okay? And it's time for questions. It's time for what? For questions. It's time for questions. Thank you for the round of applause. Thank you. What is this? Yes. Okay. Okay. Keep the questions rolling in. Please keep the questions on today's class. Okay. Any other question, you can direct it to the admin. Okay. So if you have any other questions, if somebody says I came new here, please direct it to the admin. Okay. The admin will answer those questions. But I'm looking for questions on today's class. Okay. Let me repeat it, please. Keep the questions based on today's class. If you have any other inquiries, you can send to the admin. Okay, they'll help you sort it out. So I'm still waiting for your questions. Yeah, Prince says it's time for me to start. You better do. You better do. Okay, I like that. You better do. The time is now. Okay, questions. Okay. There are no questions coming up. Do we call it an evening? Thank you for the round of applause. Thank you. All right. You guys are welcome. Okay, in the absence of, all right, thank you. Thank you for the commendations. In the absence of questions, I believe it's right we call it an evening. See you next time.
All right. Thank you all for joining in and staying to the end of the class. It was a pleasure having you all. And then for those that are complaining about their attendance at 0%, please make sure you have a good internet connection when joining in and make sure your app is updated. And of course, do well to complete your assignment and quiz before the next class. And have a good evening. Bye.